Hi, my friends. How's everyone doing today? It's another beautiful day. Sun is out, the sky is blue, so that's good for my book. I don't know about you, but let's let's be real for a minute. You're here to make a difference. This is what this is going to be all about. There are a lot of us out here that, we've always known since early childhood that something wasn't quite right, something was off. And the reason why we've known these things is because I've talked about in many of my other videos why that is. But just to recap quickly is because instinctively in our intuition, whatever you want to call it, our connection to source, our own soul, we've always known that we didn't come here to do what most people do and just, you know, slave away at work day in, day out, and that's it, because that's not what it's about. And this is why you're here to make a difference by understanding that you're not here to be doing what everybody else is doing. You're here for a greater purpose and a greater reason, a bigger reason, which is to make the world a better place for everyone. And this is what this is about. It's to make the world a better place for everybody. And although things may not look that promising overall speaking, right? There's a lot of stuff happening right now without me having to mention anything specifically. And we all know, right? I mean, even if you don't follow certain things, certain things are going to come up on your phone, whatever, because of whatever is going on. And look, there's a lot of stuff happening in the world right now. A lot. Like different things. And some of these things that are happening, it's almost as if it's by design. Certain things are happening and have to happen to be catalysts for majority of the population to keep waking up in mass numbers. And it's ironic how certain times some tragedy has to happen somewhere or to someone or to entire countries, whatever, for people to see the big picture. I mean, it shouldn't have to be this way, right? But it's just strange how the universe works in mysterious ways. I've said this before many times, right? And these things that are happening, they are making an impact. They're making a difference. You may not see it that way, or you may not be able to see it yet, but I'm telling you, things are changing. People are changing. People are starting to question themselves. People are starting to see things as they truly are. And it's only going to accelerate now. This process is being accelerated by all these, you know, different things that are happening, not to mention all these cosmic alignments and energies that we're being, you know, blessed to be receiving now from everywhere. Our DNA is being reactivated in so many different ways. All these parts of it that science doesn't truly understand. I talked about the DNA a while ago on one of my videos. You know, if you haven't seen that, go watch it. It's pretty interesting. But I've talked on that video that, you know, there's so much about our DNA that we don't know. And a lot of what it does has been suppressed for thousands of years, whether it was by being tampered and manipulated with on a physical level or for just lack of utilizing certain abilities and skills that once upon a time they were like they just worked naturally because, you know, it was a different time. But now that this Kali Yuga is coming to an end, there's a lot of stuff happening. And, you know, I've talked about this before as well, that this before before this whole thing ends, it's not gonna it's not gonna let itself go just like that. It's fighting to stay. It's I mean, desperation is visible at this point. You know, the people in power, the people in control, they're gonna be doing all kinds of things to try and keep the game going in their favor. But every time they're doing something these days, it's backfiring. It's not working out in their favor. It's working out in our favor. And like I said, this is by design. People are beginning to see things as they truly are. If you're watching this right now, you're one of those people. So you're here to make a difference, to play a role, to do your part, to help others see what they may not be able to see it just yet. But sometimes it doesn't take much. Sometimes the right information, you know, the right words at the right time is all that people need. And we have reached this point now where, like I said, things are speeding up. Because in order for the real mass transformation and awakening to happen the way it needs to happen, for the world to truly change, to become what it is we want it to be, there are many things that still have to happen and occur. But we are also a part of this and we can help. So we should be doing what we can to help with this process, however that may be, you know. And I'm not here, you know, telling you that you have to get behind the camera and do what I'm doing. This is up to you to decide. You're the one who's going to know what it is that you have to do, what your part is, what your role is in this whole process. and we figure it out. It may take some time, but we figure it out. Eventually, we figure it out. And once you do, whatever it is that you're doing is gonna do something. The trick is all you have to do is just be yourself. Be your authentic self, be your true self. That's all you have to do. Live life on your own terms. Learn how to do that. Live life on your own terms. That's a huge part of the whole process. I know it sounds like it's a hard thing to do, but the only reason why people see it that way is because, again, they've been programmed and conditioned to think it that way, to see things from that perspective. We have been told and trained to forget about our own power and the things that we can do when we put our minds, our mind, body, and soul and hearts to it. And that's the whole thing. It's like it's like unconditional love. The word unconditional, that's exactly what it means. It's if there's any conditions to whatever type of love you have for someone, including yourself, if there's any conditions attached to that, that's not real love. Because real love just is. There are no conditions. There is no judgment. Think of it as when you're a baby, right? That's what unconditional love is. When you're a baby, you're just love. You love everything and everyone as a baby, and you are loved for being in that state because people recognize that it's like a soul memory type of thing that's ingrained in everyone's. It's pretty interesting though. So, but yeah, I mean, the whole thing with you're here to make a difference. That's what I'm talking about. We're all here to make a difference. We all had some sort of predetermined agreement that we made before we came here, although we may not remember it. That we were like, okay, I'm gonna go and this is what I'm gonna do. But then, we grow up and we're like brainwashed into this whole state of being and believing things that are not even true or right. Because if everybody knew what they were really capable of and their true power to co create and manifest their own reality and do all these things, the world would be completely different than it is today. But because we have the wrong ideas and mindset about all that it is really, because they did a really good job of this, let me tell you, by misleading people and making people see things from a completely different, wrong perspective, illusionary, fake, you know, way of seeing ourselves. Because when we don't believe in ourselves, when we don't trust ourselves, when we don't love ourselves, we just give our power away in every way, shape, or form, and then nothing happens. Obviously, because you're not using your innate, spiritual soul capabilities to have a good life and to fulfill whatever it is that you're meant to do to fulfill, and to bring joy and love into this world, and help people however you can, so that they can do that themselves. So yeah, this is really all I wanted to talk about today. You're here to make a difference, whether you believe it or not, whether you like it or not. And that's the whole thing about life. That's what we're here for, to make a difference, not to slave away, to make someone rich somewhere. We're here to better our own lives so that we can better others. That's the whole point of being here. And I'm gonna leave it at that today, okay? I love you all. Never stop loving yourselves. And I will catch you all on the next one. Take care, my friends.